Right, we're going to look at some potted palms in this video. So some will be a bit more unusual, some will be standard palms we grow in the UK. But we'll start off down the bottom end of the garden where I'm currently hardening off some of the more cold sensitive palms which have been in the hothouse for a few months since coming out from the house from winter. So you have to excuse me, there's a bit of mess around here. This is my sort of working area. I've been potting things up and whatnot, so there's a few bags of compost about, but we'll overlook that. Right, so let's get stuck straight in. We have got a couple of alocasias as well, which are going to go in the garden now it's warmed up. But we'll just look at the palms for now. So we've got a small flamethrower palm here. This is a Chamberonia macrocarpa, and we've got a larger one, so this is exactly the same palm but it's a bit larger. Really nice tropical looking palm, crown shafted. Doesn't need high temperatures, they're quite happy around sort of 20-25 degrees or summer. They'll grow well at that sort of temperature. Yeah, I'm not going to every palm, I'll just show you what I'm growing. So in case I didn't pronounce it right or you didn't catch what I said, there's the tag, Chamberonia macrocarpa. So that's flamethrower palm, commonly known. Yeah, I've had this one for many years and always does fine over winter as a house plant, and you've got to take your time to acclimatise it to the sun, but does well in the summer outside. So last week I done a video on just random plants talking, and we looked at the Nikko palm in a garden which took quite a lot of damage over winter. But this is the potted one I bought at the same time last year. Absolutely fine, overwintered in a cold greenhouse, saw down to 1 degree, obviously took no damage, looking really good so far this year. It's pumped out. This leaf it's sort of done over winter and finished off early spring. I've opened up this one since, and we've got another spear coming as well, so that's doing well. That'll stay permanently in this position over the summer period, so this area tends to be in shade until sort of late afternoon, where it gets 3 or 4 hours of evening sun. Seems to be happy with that. You know, they don't need a lot of direct sunlight. And behind here we've got a Kentia palm, so that was kept in the conservatory over winter, so that saw cold temperatures sort of down to about 4 degrees. Doesn't mind that takes that for months on end and absolutely fine. And that's now pushing out, well, it's pushed out this frond this year and it's now working on a second as well. Right, so coming round here, this is another sort of halfway area where I graduate palms. So to acclimate palms to the sun, or any plant really, you need a period over 2 or 3 weeks really to guarantee no burn. So again, this gets evening sun for a few hours, 3 or 4 if you're lucky. This area gets morning sun, so it is currently just gone 9 o'clock in the morning, and this will get sun till midday or a little bit after maybe, and then that'll be shaded by the hothouse. So this is a good sort of in between just the first area I show you to this area. And really a lot of these palms will stay here now until it's time to go in for winter. But just 'cause I've got nowhere else to put them, but I am going to tuck a couple of these palms in the borders, see if I've got any gaps at some point. So these are fully acclimated to the sun now. So let's have a quick look what we've got. We've got a couple of Phoenix Dectalifera, which I grew from seed. So this one would be about 3 years old from seed, and we've got a couple which are smaller, which are about 2 years old from seed. So they're not the best palm for the UK, but they can be grown. I did try one in the ground and it survived a couple of winters, but it died winter before last with that really cold spell. It didn't make it. Right, we've got a small Princeps here. We can see it's sort of pretty much pure white on the back. That's potted just because I don't know what to do with it at the moment. I've got one in the ground, and that's sort of a backup if anything happens, or if I've got a space to put it in, I'll find somewhere for it eventually. So a lot of these palms are sort of backup palms for other more tender palms. If they don't make it, then I can swap them out. So I've always got a backup. So this one is the Tequil we bought around about a month ago from Urban Jungle. So I put it in a bigger pot, and it is now starting to push out a new frond there with a fair decent amount of bluish on the back. Yeah, that's going to be a slow grower, but we'll see how that one does in time. We've got a few Washingtonia Robusta in pots. So these are just real cheapy ones I bought several years ago. It's 3 or 4 in a pot and divided them up singly. And yeah, they've been in the same pot for a couple of years now, so you could really do with repotting, but still they're doing okay. Here's a very sickly looking little Washingtonia Robusta. Well, it's got a reasonable little trunk on it, but this one struggled. I do struggle when they're small, even with protection with a cold greenhouse or something like that. They still struggle a little bit when they're really small, but that is alive and pushing. We've got a Phoenix Canariensis here, which, if you've watched my videos for any time, this is one I brought from home base last year, reduced. That's practically dead. That's all brown, and that's just dried out in a pot. So I put it in a bigger pot and kept it well watered, and that is now starting to recover. So I've got another one in a similar condition, which I bought 2 at the same time, reduced, stupid cheap. So I don't actually remember how much I paid for it. Wouldn't have been much more than 3 or 4 quid, I doubt. This is a queen palm, standard queen. So again, this was overwintered in the hothouse, just kept frost free, and it's now starting to push a spear there. This is a little pot of Robusta that I brought. Trying to think, it's probably weren't last year, it's probably a year before. Real cheap small pot. I think that's from the range. I think I paid about 10 quid for it, and had 4 palms in it. Well, as we can see now, it's only got 2 because 2 sort of died, but I'm going to cut the stems back on that. 2 are still alive and pushing. So again, just a sort of little backup plant, really, insurance policy if you like. This one, we've got a little Phoenix, trunkless Phoenix. I don't remember the species offhand, and I don't know if the tag's in there. It's not Robellini, that is a miniature Phoenix that doesn't really trunk. So I apologise for getting a name for that one. This one is a filibuster, Washingtonia filibuster, which I grew from seed a few years back, and I did sell a lot of these. I've kept 2 back for myself. Really could do with going in a bigger pot or going in the ground, really. But the difference really is the leaf shape and the sort of trunk colour compared to the Robusta here. Is sort of a wider leaf, where this filibuster is more of a elongated, not quite so wide. and the trunk colour you tend to get on the Robustas, a really red trunk, whereas like Folifera is more of a green trunk, I believe, and this is sort of a, like I say, a cross between the two. So I've got a couple of them, another one this side, which is done fine. So that's grown from seed probably, to be fair, about 4 years ago, and that probably would be twice the size if I had it in the ground or a bigger pot. But I might look into repotting them at some point. So we've got this, which is the Chamaerops cerifera, which I had in my centre bed, which I weren't happy with because it weren't very blue, and I always sort of took a bit of fungal damage on the leaves. So I dug this out, and I was quite hasty with this one. I weren't fussed at all if it lived or died, and we can see the centre growth is all browned out where I cut a lot of the roots, and there's not, the spears aren't pulling, they're solid in there, they've just died off. So I'm not too concerned about that, but the whole thing dies, that's fine with me. Chances are it won't, because there's lots of suckers on it, so the suckers, even if the main stem dies, the suckers will be absolutely fine, they're unaffected. So this is the other Phoenix canariensis, which we bought last year cheap. Like we said, the other one, this one's doing a bit better. So this, when I brought these palms out, they're pretty much all brown fronds, like you see on this one here. And yeah, so all this is new growth from last year and this year. And just put them in a bigger pot, and like I said, kept them well watered. This is just a standard Shake-Cutlass Fortunae, which I've had in a pot for a few years. I never really had anywhere to put it. So that's in a pot still. This is a queen palm. This is the mountain forms. This is the Santa Catalina mountain form. So it's a bit hardier than the standard queen palm. And I have got one in the ground, and that survived winter with practically no damage. So these are quite tough, very slow growing now. And we've got another Washingtonia Robusta there. We've gone through that already. This is quite a nice Phoenix. Yes, Phoenix reclinata. So this is thrown out this frond this year, and got another spear on the way, so that's doing well. Right, so obviously the rest of the garden, all the palms are in the ground, more or less, apart from the Butiagoras, which I brought beginning of spring or thereabouts, and this has been doing really well actually in a pot. So I brought two, one's in the ground, one's in a pot. One in the pot is doing better at the moment, but that's because it gets full sun all day long, whereas the one in the ground just sort of doesn't get sun till sort of late morning. So this is like I say, the Butiagoras Aerospader, and since I've had it, it's pushed out this new frond here, which is looking good, and it's got quite a meaty spear there as well. So that's done quite well, considering the weather's not been brilliant, but now it's picking up. That should pick up pace a bit. Alright, so let's finish up on some of the other palms I dug out the centre bed to make room for more unusual palms. They are in the shade at the minute, but they do get a fair amount of sun, these ones. So this is a small Butia odorata, which I dug up, and that's actually had no ill effects from being dug up at all. In a fairly small pot, to be fair, but that hasn't skipped a beat. Since I dug it up, it has opened up a new leaf, and it's got quite a nice spear coming as well. So that is one palm that you can dig up. Obviously you've got to get some decent roots with it, but that's one palm that doesn't seem to be too fussed They don't even know they've been moved half the time. They're quite happy. They carried on. Certainly carried on growing quite well. So don't be afraid if you've got a small to medium booty to move it if you put it in the wrong place, because they really do transplant very well. Probably one of the best palms, I would say, for transplanting. And we'll finish up with this little Jubei at the end here. So again, this one's not really been too fussed about being moved. We've got some old fronds on this from 22-23 winter where it did spear pull, so it made a good recovery last year and pushed out some new fronds, and it's still pushing new fronds. And these two were dug out maybe 6-8 weeks ago, and they would have started showing any sort of discomfort from being dug up by now, and they haven't, unlike the Suifa we just looked at where the centre totally died. So yeah, some palms do transplant better than others. But yeah, it's just a look at some of the potted palms. I've got a lot more tropical ones which may come out at some point during the summer, but for now that's what's out in the garden at the moment. I think we'll leave it there, so thanks for watching and we'll catch you on the next one.